Good afternoon and welcome to our Introduction to Key Action 2 Schools Exchange Partnership webinar. We are going to start now, and I'm Irene. I work for the Customer Service and Events team, and I've got with me Maxine Gasket, who is a Grants Manager, and Stephen Davids, who is a Grants Officer. Just before we start, I'm going to launch a quick poll. Can you please vote and let us know if you can hear us okay? Thank you very much. I can see that you can all hear us, which is great. We are just going to quickly introduce the new opportunities that are available under Erasmus Plus for 2018. However, we would like to introduce the national agency briefly first. The national agency is formed by the British Council and Ecourse UK, and we are jointly responsible for managing and promoting Erasmus Plus in the UK. We have a clear split of responsibilities by sector and project type. As you can see, all the schools projects are managed by the British Council, and any communication you have should be with us rather than Ecourse. As I am sure you all want to know about Erasmus Plus and Brexit, you can check our website for updates in regards to this issue, but we can confirm that the UK government has guaranteed that they will underwrite any payments that go beyond the point of exit from the European Union. That means that if you apply in 2018 and your project goes over the date where we leave the European Union, the payments will still be made either by Erasmus Plus funding or by the UK government. We are really excited that for 2018 there have been some changes. There has been an increase of 170 million euros for Erasmus Plus funding in the UK. Out of these, 30 million have been for schools, which is an increase of 40% on top of the increase that we already had last year. And also, a new branch has been introduced under Key Action 2 Schools, which is the School Exchange Partnership. Just before I start talking about this new branch, I would like to ask you to vote and let us know if you have ever applied for Key Action 2 Schools funding. Okay, thank you. I can see that we're about half and half, so that's good that we have some expertise in the room. So let me introduce to you Key Action 2 Schools Exchange Partnerships. Schools Exchange Partnerships belong under what is known as Strategic Partnerships Supporting Exchange of Good Practice. These allow organizations to develop and reinforce networks, increase their capacity to work internationally, share and explore ideas, practices, and different methods to improve their practice. Schools Exchange Partnership is a new funding opportunity for 2018. It's a new and simplified version of Erasmus Plus funding for schools, so applying should be much more straightforward and simpler than it's been in previous school years. They are meant to support the exchange of staff and pupils through short and long-term mobility activities. and they aim to help schools develop and expand their international outlook, improve language learning, and experience the benefits of international collaboration. So, what can you do under this key action? As I mentioned, it's a simplified version of what we previously had under school strategic partnerships for exchange of good practices. So, as you can see on the screen, there are a number of activities that you can undertake with this bunch of funding. Schools exchange partnerships consist of a number of mobility activities that allow the partnership to achieve a number of the objectives that the European Commission has outlined. They are also they would also allow the partnership to promote the values of inclusion and tolerance that are underlined in the Paris Agreement. As you can see, all learning, teaching, and training activities have a minimum and a maximum duration that must be met. But please bear in mind that travel dates do not count towards these durations. The full duration of these activities as well must happen between the project start and end date to be eligible, including travel dates. Mobility is allowed within strategic partnerships. Differently to what we have previously seen, in this type of projects, mobilities justify the need for a project. So please bear in mind that these activities will still need to meet the objectives of the project, but you don't need to organize any additional activities. You can see on the screen now some of the activities that you can do under Key Action to schools exchange partnerships. You might wish to undertake this while on a mobility activity, a learning, teaching, and training activity. You might do this with any member of staff in the school. It doesn't have to be teachers or pupils. You can see in the screen now the 5 different learning, teaching, and training activities that you can apply for under school exchange partnerships. You can see that you can apply for blended mobility of pupils. This means that you will do some of this international work using online tools such as eTwinning or Skype, and then some of the pupils might go to the country that you've partnered up with, and they will be able to do a range of activities there. You can also do a short-term exchange of group of pupils, and we are really pleased to announce that following the feedback from some of our beneficiaries, the minimum duration of this activity has been reduced to 3 days. Long-term study mobility of pupils is also available now, and this justifies a project by itself. So you will still need to justify what this is important for your school, but you do not need to include any additional activities. And it's the same in the case of long-term teaching or training assignments for staff. And then you can have short-term joint staff training events, which are usually designed to share expertise and practices and to learn from one another. And as you can see, the duration is also 3 days. If you want to find out more about learning, teaching, and training activities, what they entail, the definition, the benefits, the different conditions that must be met, you can do so by checking the program guide for 2018 call, and this will be in Annex 1.2. So how does it work? In order to apply for this funding, there are requirements for a minimum number of partners. You need to have a minimum of 2 partners from 2 different program countries and a maximum of 6. As I said, this must be from program countries, as partner countries are not eligible for funding. and their key action to strategic schools exchange. You will also choose a lead within the partnership. This organization will apply for funding in the country and on behalf of the whole partnership. Please don't submit several applications in several countries, as that might make them not eligible for funding. If your application was successful, the different national agencies would then contact each of the schools and contract with them individually. You can see on the screen the program countries who you could form a partnership with. As well as a minimum or a maximum of partners, you have a minimum and maximum duration. All projects must last between 12 and 24 months. However, in very specific cases, and if it's justified by long-term mobility of pupils, they can last up to 36 months. Please bear in mind that this will have to be justified, and the national agency would analyze this case by case. Differently to other types of Key Action 2 projects, schools exchange partnerships cannot be awarded funding for intellectual outputs, multiplier events, and transnational project meetings. That will make them a much smaller type of project and simpler and easier to manage. Funding is limited to a maximum of 16,500 euros per year and per participating school in a project. However, funds to support pupils or participants with special needs, as well as exceptional costs for expensive travel, will not count towards this cap. You can now see on your screen some of the categories that constitute a budget for Key Action 2 Schools Exchange Partnership. You can see that project management and implementation is a unit cost. This is based on the duration of the project, and you will receive a flat rate per month, and the lead will receive 500 euros, and the partners will receive 250 euros per month. Please keep in mind that you will not be paid monthly. This would be calculated as a total, and you would receive it in together with the rest of the pre-finance. As you can see, you could also apply for exceptional costs, which are awarded on a case-by-case basis and need to be justified throughout the whole application. These are awarded if it was needed for travel. For example, if you lived in the Shetland Islands and you could only travel to the country of your destination through Edinburgh, you might qualify for this top-up. However, as I said, the national agency looks at these cases really carefully, and even if it was awarded, we will need to see receipts, and we will only award 80% of eligible costs. You can also apply for special needs support, which is funding for any additional costs directly related to participants with disabilities. For example, hiring equipment while you're in the country of destination. And this, again, is based on real cost, and we will need to see receipts. But in this case, we will award 100% of eligible costs. And finally, the last category that you can apply for funding under this branch of Key Action 2 schools are the teaching, training, and learning activities. These are based on unit cost that can be found in pages 122 and 123 of the 2018 program guide. And these are divided into 3 different categories. You have a contribution to travel, individual support, and linguistic support. Please make sure that when you're completing the application, you apply for all funding that you may need. For example, if you are going abroad, you may need funding for travel and individual support, so please ensure that you are applying for both. If people or a member of staff is going abroad on a long-term mobility, they might want to attend a course to practice or improve the language of the receiving country, and they could receive up to €150 for a linguistic support course. Just before I move on, I wanted to remind you that you should be able to access the chat or the questions facilities in case you have any questions for our grants manager or project officer. Now I wanted to help you with the application. I know we don't have the forms yet, the application forms. We're waiting for the European Commission to release this at the moment. And as soon as they are available, we will put them on the website and we will let you know. However, for the moment, we wanted to give you some top tips for a quality application. The most important thing is that you refer to the award criteria that is outlined in the program guide. You can see what the assessors will be looking for there, and you also can see the requirements. You must score at least 60 points to be considered, and you must meet at least half of the score in each one of the categories. As I said, this is to be considered for funding. This doesn't guarantee that you will get funding, as we start funding from the highest scoring projects, and then we fund as many projects as possible until we run out of the allocated budget. More detailed scoring guidance will be published on the Erasmus Plus website in due course. This is the assessor's guidance, and you will be able to access it in the future on our website. One of the biggest hints and tips that we can give you is to choose your partners carefully. You are going to be working with them for a long time, and you need to ensure that the partnership will will work together to deliver a successful project. Also, our assessors will look at the expertise of the partnership. They will look at what skills they're bringing in, and if this partnership doesn't meet this, they might question that and their feedback. You can always access national agency support and guidance. We put it on our website. We publicize it on our newsletters. So please refer back to this, because we try to help you apply. As I said, it's really important that you refer to the program guide, especially when you are looking at the eligibility, quality, and budget rules. Each activity, as I mentioned, has a minimum and maximum duration that you must meet, and the project also has rules, so please look at those before applying. Going back to the partnership, you should make sure that all your partners are aware of what is required of them. If you are the lead, you will be responsible for final reporting, but they will still need to meet the requirements, and they might have to complete reports as well. When you're completing the narrative section of the application form, please do include all key information. I am sure that you are really passionate about your projects and the ideas that you've got, and you know them inside out. However, you need to make sure that the assessors understand the project as well as you know it when you apply. So please include all key information while keeping it focused. Ensure your project will be achievable. By that we mean that you need to be realistic. Can your school release 10 members of staff to go abroad in 1 week? or would it be better to organize 5 different activities with 2 members of staff at a time? That's just an example, but you're the only one that can judge that. I know the forms are not available yet, but please start working on the partnership and the narrative aspects of the application early. These are the most time-consuming parts of the application, and these are the most important parts. So we are going to give you some guidance on how to complete this in a minute, but it's something that you need to start considering early. Excuse me. So, preparing to apply. If you have never applied for Erasmus Plus funding before, you might not necessarily have a PIC, which is a personal identification code. If your organization has previously applied for Erasmus Plus funding, they should have one and only one PIC, because it's the only one that's allowed. If you don't know this, please get in touch and we will help you find out your PIC number, and if your organization doesn't have any, and if you need to create one, we can share guidance on how to create one. So what is a PIC number? A PIC number is a European Commission code that allows us as the national agency to identify your organization and ensure that all the legal and financial documents are there and the requirements are met. For each organization, we must have a LEO, which is a legal entity appointed representative. If this changes at any point, we would need to know, because they are the only ones that can sign any Erasmus Plus related documents. When you create your PIC, you will need to upload financial identity forms and legal entity forms, as well as supporting documentation. There is guidance available on our website and the European Commission website in regards to how to do this, but please do get in touch if you have any questions. So when you submit your application, it is really, really important that these 3 documents on the screen are there, either in the PIC or with your application. So please make sure that you have these. As you can see on the screen, these are some of the expected questions or sections from the application form. This might not be written with the same words, but we expect the application form to be asking who is in the partnership, what is their expertise, how this expertise or these partners will support the project, what their roles will be. We would expect the application to ask you to give a detailed description of the project, so the activities that are going to happen, who is going to take part, what preparation you've done before the project, how you've talked to each other, how you plan to do this in the future, if there were any issues in the future, like a dispute or a partner being unable to fulfill some of the obligations, how would you manage that, and any sort of arrangement that you've made before applying. The application will also ask you about the priorities and the expected results that you will meet with your project, so you need to consider this carefully. You will also be asked who will take part in the activities, so participants, how you will select them, if you are taking any participants from disadvantaged backgrounds or with special needs. So you should try to identify this or prepare to identify this at application stage. You will also have to justify the activities and how they will support your project. As I said, long-term mobility of pupils and staff is considered as under the strategic goal already, but you will still need to explain how this is necessary for your school and the partnership, and how this is going to have an impact. And as I said, there is expected impact, but we will go into that in a minute. You will have to discuss impact, your dissemination plan, and any follow-up activities. So, since the 2008 economic crisis, the European Commission has expected some value in return for the money and the funding that they award. So Erasmus Plus has clear objectives and some outcomes that are expected from all the projects. And in this context, it is really important to demonstrate how your project is going to meet these objectives and how it is going to be beneficial for the European Union. So when you are applying, you will need to clearly identify your objectives, the target groups, the changes, and also how you will measure this. The national agency has created a number of resources that will help you analyze possible impact from your project before, during, and after your projects. We divide the impact results into types. You have tangible results and intangible results. Well, tangible results are easier to measure in the sense that you might produce some curriculum, you might have some reports to go with the impact that the project has had on the school or the partnership or the pupils. Intangible results are not as easy to measure. They are usually related to the personal growth and development of those taking part, and it might be an increased cultural awareness, improved language skills, and you might consider different ways to measure this. We could, for example, recommend or put forward interviews, questionnaires, tests, observations, or self-assessment mechanisms. You should also disseminate your project. At this stage, you need to consider 6 main questions, especially when you're discussing your dissemination plan at the application stage. You would need to consider why you need to carry out this project, why it's necessary, and why it's important to share the results that you've achieved. What you're going to disseminate, so how are you going to share the results, and how you're going to make it interesting. Again, how, for example, are you going to use social media? Are you going to contact the press? Are you going to send newsletters to parents? And any other options you can think of. When you will need to put a timetable or a rough description on when the different activities will take place. So, for example, if you are successful, you might send a newsletter to the parents and then do so at regular intervals. You might want to consider whom as well. So, who are you going to address and why and how you will do this. So, identify your target groups and where are you going to do it in just the countries that are taking part, or perhaps you will share your results with schools from different countries. And now I'm going to briefly introduce 3 different websites that might support you when applying and might help you strengthen your application. So first of all, this is this Co-Education Gateway. This is a European Commission's portal where you can find, using a search engine, projects for, courses for Key Action 1, but for Key Action 2, you can find partners that are interested in the same areas that you want to work in and that might have the same capacity you do, and you can get in touch with them. So you can see the links at the bottom. We will share the slides in the next few days, but if you wanted to access the links, just underneath. eTwinning is also a European Commission program that supports Erasmus, and in this platform, first, it can be used as an ideal stepping stone for first-timers to European activity, but also it can help you before your project by allowing you to find partners, during your project by giving you a safe platform to share your results, to work with partners from different countries, and also to collaborate and internationalize the classroom. Excuse me. And finally, what is Europass? Europass is a tool developed by the European Commission where the skills and qualifications gained through international cooperation can be recognized. So there are 5 different certificates that can be used as part of Europass, and that might help strengthen your application by showing that you intend to continue this cooperation and accept any qualifications that have been gained through international cooperation. So what to do next? Once the forms are available, we will share a video on how to complete them on our YouTube channel and hopefully on our website too. We will make this known through the website and I'm sure through social media as well. Written guidance will be published on our website to support you completing the application, particularly the narrative sections. As I said, these are the most time-consuming and most complicated part of the application. You can always call us or email us. I will share our details with you in a minute, but we're here to help you and we want you to be successful, so please do call us or email us. We also have made available some one-to-one support calls to discuss your projects, your applications, and you can register through these following the link that we'll share in our newsletter. The Key Action 2 deadline is the 21st of March. This is at 11 a.m. UK time. If for a technical reason with our application you're unable to submit, please take a screenshot showing the time and the date where this has happened. And finally, if you want to get in touch, please do so using this phone number or either of these emails. We work Monday to Friday from 8:30 till 4:30, and this is not on bank holidays. You can also find more information online through our website, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, or you can sign up to our newsletters. And now I'm going to leave the floor open for questions for the next 15 minutes. So please do so, and if not, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.